Hey guys, what's happening? So we are back for more Ultimate Black Panther with issue 5, where now we're introduced to the element that is the opposite of vibranium, as well as its origin. And from what we're told, this isn't a different type of vibranium, like we've seen before, but rather this is a whole new element. So with that said, if you're enjoying these videos, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications, so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so coming back for issue 5, this brings together the events from issues 3 and 4, where we saw Killmonger and Storm lead T'Challa to a secret temple, holding a mysterious green ore that was being sought after by Khonshu and Ra. And now that T'Challa's brought in both Killmonger and Storm into his inner circle, or his circle of force, as he would call it, he's now not only welcomed them to Wakanda, but now he considers them to be among the small group of people he can trust, after discovering Khonshu and Ra had been successful before with sending spies into Wakanda. So now, after some weeks have passed, they've managed to bring this mysterious ore back to Wakanda so that Shuri and T'Challa could analyze it, though unfortunately they still have a lot of questions about what this is and where exactly it came from, because all they really know at this time is that it's not vibranium, and its composition is unlike anything they've seen. So as it stands, they really just have a theory as far as what it could be used for. So to demonstrate this, T'Challa asks Storm to charge a vibranium rod that's running across where they have the ore sitting, so they can show her a demonstration of what it does. So Storm tells them this is going to be loud, because it's only polite to give an indoor lightning alert. But when she charges the rod, the energy runs through the ore to a nearby plant, and just seconds later the room is filled with plant life. And it's produced at such a rapid rate that it nearly breaks through the display glass. So T'Challa tells Shuri to incinerate it, as he goes on to tell Storm, in isolation, this new element is, for lack of a better term, dormant. But in combination with the presence of vibranium and release of kinetic energy, I suspect this material creates accelerated biological development. I suspect it also affects non-biological material. Its properties are alchemical. And after hearing this, Storm's like, I don't understand. So T'Challa tells her, this material enhances life. You found it in a temple because that culture worshipped it. They worshipped it because to them, it had the power of a god. So aside from this, T'Challa just tells Storm not to tell anyone about it, because as of late, Khonshu and Ra have been silent. So they need to find them, while T'Challa seeks more answers from the Vodu-Khan. Because in this universe, Earth 6160, the Vodu-Khan, they've served for years as like your spiritual advisors to the throne of Wakanda. But the whole time that T'Challa's been king, he hasn't really cared for them, because they often speak in riddles, they often speak with prophecies that are very cryptic, while T'Challa would much rather them be straightforward. And aside from that, he also believes that they're keeping secrets that could potentially be valuable to him, because as king and protector of Wakanda, he's accountable for the safety of all of its citizens, including them. But if they're over here keeping secrets, then he's not able to do his job efficiently. So when I say he doesn't care for them, it's more so of the case where he would just rather do away with the Vodu-Khan and the whole idea of the throne needing their counsel. But as it turns out, now that he's found this mysterious ore, he believes that their leader, Matron Amala, knows what it is, and he needs her to tell him everything she knows about it. So as you might imagine, with T'Challa coming here to ask Matron Amala about this ore and what it is and where it came from, he's not the least bit excited about this, and if he had any other option, he wouldn't be here. But as soon as he arrives at the temple of the Vodu-Khan, he tells Matron Amala that she knows what this ore is, and that she should more or less just spill it, tell him everything she knows. So she tells him that she can't give him certainty, all she can give him is possibility, which right there has T'Challa like, man, I just want the truth. I don't want no mysteries, no riddles, none of that extra stuff. So the matron tells him there's fear in his voice. He should measure it and master it. The truth is, you have the throne in an era of great change for Wakanda, for Africa, for the world. I will tell you what the Vodu-Khan believes. You can decide if I'm being honest. To where from here, Matron Amala goes on to tell T'Challa the origin of this mysterious ore. And she goes on to say, 2 trails of fire came from the sky. They found Africa, each of them with great power, the power that changes the direction of time. Their origins are unknown. Those who found them called them the tears of the gods. One of them you know, the indestructible element that which has aided Wakanda, what science has called vibranium. The other you do not. The other spreads life like a plague. Your science has no name for it has been blind to its existence. Everything in the universe has its opposite T'Challa: light and dark, death and life. Did you believe Vibranium could not? And she goes on to say, it is the opposite of Vibranium, but no less powerful. Vibranium makes our weapons, our shields, our machines. It is the god of material. Think of its opposite as the god of flesh. It can accelerate life. From it, whole kingdoms can be born. This is what Ra and Khonshu want. They want its power. To form a new kingdom, Wakanda will have its opposite too. Such is the way of things. I have seen what is to come. I have seen you in solitude. I have seen what you find. You will try to master it with your reason and power, and it will laugh at you. And it will change you, and you will beg for its change, but not before you will scream. So with hearing this, T'Challa, he's eager to know the interpretation of what this actually means for him. Cause at first he's like, I'm not gonna be begging or screaming. I don't know what you're talking about. So the matron tells him, all things scream when they are born, and all things are born afraid. And really what she's telling him is that there's a rebirth coming, and that he should prepare for war like never before. It'll be nothing like his father or grandfather ever knew. And Matron Amala even tells him that she understands that T'Challa doesn't trust her or the Vodu-Khan for that matter, but they trust him to lead them and to protect Wakanda. But going forward, by no means should he let Ra and Khonshu claim this power, and he must be willing to sacrifice anything because their lives are in his hands. And following this, next we head over to the lower kingdom, where we find Khonshu, who's holding this farmer captive after destroying his village and killing his son. So for a moment here, Khonshu's like, okay, so I owe you a life. But as it turns out, one of the reasons why Khonshu's holding this guy here is because when this guy's village was attacked, he called out for the Black Panther as someone would for a god. And even now, this guy believes that the Black Panther will find Khonshu and he will punish him. So of course, Khonshu, he doesn't like this at all, because not only does this guy see the Black Panther as a god, but at the same time, it's like he's not acknowledging Khonshu as one. So to Khonshu, he takes that as a sign of disrespect, because he's like, you speak of him as if he's a god, when a god stands before you now, and God wants something from you, farmer. God will give you purpose. God will give you power. And following this, Khonshu ends up using this guy by giving him power and sending him over to Shuri to retrieve the ore and take it back to Khonshu. And with the way this is done, it's almost like he's become Khonshu's avatar. Though it's not really clear if he's being mind controlled or just heavily influenced. All we're really shown here is this guy stepping through a portal, making his way to Shuri, and him saying things like, I will serve him and for Khonshu. And it comes off a bit different than some of the other followers of Khonshu and Ra that we've seen thus far in this universe, because the ones we've seen prior to this, they've come off like they're more aware of what they're doing. And I mean, even with the glowing eyes still being a thing. But just like for an example, the assassin we saw in issue 4, for her, it seemed like she was serving Khonshu and Ra in exchange for the promise of more power, which might have been an agreement she made with them. But now after seeing this guy, I'm starting to think Khonshu and Ra are using the methods of just forcing their will on a select few, whom they later consider to be disposable. But while this guy is fighting Shuri, Khonshu can see through his eyes. So for a moment here, when Khonshu sees the ore, he tells this guy to go for it, and the farmer just starts banging his head into the glass, which right there is far from what any sane person would have done. But right after that, when Shuri tries to stop him, Khonshu has the farmer just blast her out of the way, and then blast an opening into the lab so he can get to the ore. But just before he can grab it, he's struck by lightning when Storm shows up, telling Shuri to close her eyes, cause, indoor lightning etiquette. But as Storm is electrocuting this guy within inches of his life, he turns around, reaches for the ore, and he cries out for Khonshu, and then boom, he disappears. So Storm tells Shuri that wasn't her, and neither one of them are sure exactly what happened. But we find out immediately after when we head back to the lower kingdom, where we see the farmer fried and holding the orb, with Khonshu standing over him saying, "You've served your god well, farmer. Be with your son." Which is really messed up as far as how Khonshu just used this guy. But following this, we find out this was Khonshu's plan, because he knew T'Challa and the others would find the orb for them. Because he says to Ra, "I told you Wakanda would do our work for us. And look what they have found. Brother Ra, it's been a long evening. I need rest. For tomorrow, we will build a kingdom." So now, as it would seem, the Vodu-Khan's worst fear is about to become a reality. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information, on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.